Congressman Davis is not your congressman. I just want to throw that in because I almost got lost coming down here. As I know, the 7th Congressional District of Illinois don't go down through here. And I just kept driving and kept driving, and I got a gas guzzler, and this hurts. Come all the way down here. But I finally got here, and I said, well, man, these folks sure live good. I want to come down here all the time. But let me tell you, when I got started with this, I've known Congressman Davis for 35 years, almost ever since I lived in Chicago. And I'm not much more than 35 years old. That's a big lie. But we got together, and I watched his political career, and we've done a lot of work together. We've worked for each other. But the important thing is that Congressman Davis is probably one of the best public servants, bar none, in the United States. And I'm just so proud that we grew up being buddies. I went to his wedding, he went to mine. So it was starting with our local postmaster about trying to get some insight into how we might go about it, because even though I had worked for the post office at one point in my life, I didn't really know how they got around to determining how you get a zip code. When we done that, they told us, well, don't even try because it's already set. It's already set. So we already got all the zip codes we don't have. And that must have been some years ago. It's probably more than 15, 20 years ago. But y'all kept writing, and we kept goosing the people in Washington, and they kept saying no. And you know, you way out here and we way in town. Right. And so I said, well, why do these people keep dogging us like this? You know, every 6 months, somebody from the University of Williams talking about how y'all ain't got our zip code yet. And so I talked to the boss, and he said, well, write one more letter. You know, try to get the postmaster on the phone. After a while, they wouldn't even take our phone calls because they knew what we wanted. But the big challenge is that times begin to move on and the population shifts begin to take place. You know, people got a little more serious about it, and they begin to understand that they were going to have to change what they'd already created, and so that gave us an opening. So if you're changing, why don't you just go on and add this too? Okay? And they begin to consider that. Lo and behold, Congressman Davis began to get reassigned to committees in the Congress, and he ended up on something called Government Reform and Operations. Now, that's the committee in the Congress that investigates everybody. And there ain't nobody too big for them not to want to investigate you, or too small for that matter. And you don't want them investigating you, I can tell you that much. And so there he lands on a committee like that, and y'all kept on bugging him, and so he said, well, I just may have to investigate this. You know? And of course, the chief postmaster in Washington said, well, I don't want y'all over here running my business. And so he began to try to find ways to at least talk to us about it. I guess he called some of y'all and told y'all to come out there and talk to you. Eventually, we got him to say yes. But the congressman had to go over there, I don't know how many times he went over there and talked to him. It must have been 10 or 20. He eventually, every time we would go over there, the postmaster would say, no, Congressman, I just can't see how I'm going to be able to do that. But he kept going. Eventually, he got the postmaster in the position to say, I think we can do it, Congressman. I think we can do it, Congressman. And I guess that's because y'all got on him. Now, as far as last time I checked the voting rolls, ain't none of y'all vote for him. You know? And I said, well, Congressman, we wasted all this time, and you ain't getting a vote from out there. But hey, if you got to do what you got to do. And because if you don't do that, you ain't getting nothing in America. I can tell you that. So I'm just here to say we are so proud that y'all got this done. And so now we can be peaceful and don't have to worry about y'all coming over there worrying us. You know? And because truth be told, I'm supposed to be someplace else this morning. And I'm out here. And I had a speech already made to talk to those folks. And when he called me last night, he said, you got to go out. I said, well, Christian, I got someplace to be. He said, no, you going out. So I said, I guess I am, because I need a paycheck. So I'm not confused by that. I did what I had to do. So I got it in the gasket and came on out here. Now, somebody mentioned the census. I think it was the postmaster. The census is so important to you and me and every young person in this room and across America, because the census is going to determine whether or not we can keep all of our congressmen in Illinois. And the last time this happened, we lost congressmen. We lost a congressman. We have 19 congressmen in Illinois, and I guarantee you, between Florida, Texas, California, and Arizona, they're going to walk away with the lion's share of the changes in the Congress. California could possibly get 3 more. Florida is definitely going to get 3 more. Texas probably 2 or 3 more. So you're going to begin to see a shift in the political power and structure of the country. And that's all right, because they're Americans too, because they got some serious problems down south that still got to be solved. But we don't want them to take one of our congressmen down there to help them. We want them to go ahead and do what they got to do with what they got. When the census comes, please cooperate, because it's to your advantage. Because if y'all mess around, I don't quite know who represents this area, but you could lose him, whoever he or she is. Congressman Jackson represents this area, and he's a good man. He's a good man. And I know his father well. I know his father better than I know him. But it could be that the way these lines are drawn, because if we don't get a solid count and count everybody, and we can't afford to miss anybody, we could in fact lose a seat. And we don't need to lose no more seats in Illinois. We got enough problems, and we need to keep the division the way the division is, but because it means money to the state of Illinois, it means money to the school systems, it means money to make sure that the water is clean and drinkable. It makes a difference for the quality of life of everybody in Illinois to keep our congressional seats, because when states like California, anybody realize how many congressmen California's got? Anybody here? Who can tell me right quick? 20? No, sir. You know how many congressmen California has? 54. They got twice the representation in Illinois, and they get more. And so that's why it's important, because the big states just keep getting bigger. Now, Illinois used to be a big state, but we ain't nowhere near where we used to be. We used to have 27. We now have 19. And Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, that's where they're going. That's where the population of the nation is moving. For the first time in the history of the nation, there are more people who live west of the Mississippi River than live east of it. That's why. That's why, because the population has shifted. When I lived in California, I think they had 38 congressmen. Now they got 54, and looking to get 58. So, you see, if California could decide